Menna, Jen, thank you very much for coming to my kitchen. How are you both today?
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
First thing is I've got you a present. Hold on, it's behind me. Go.
Oh, wow.
There you go. I buy all my guests presents.
Oh, thanks.
And I didn't know what to get you, and I'm being a bit cliche here, but I bought you expensive chocolates. Do you both eat chocolate?
I do.
I'm sure I'll try.
Okay, good. I didn't know where you were with your training schedule at the moment, so I didn't know whether I should be buying you alcohol or anything. But congratulations, because you keep winning everything. You've just come back from winning something else. Explain what you keep winning.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, we've just come back from the World Cup finals that were in Morzine and some of our World Cup races just beforehand. And it's where the final races of the season happen, and all the races you get points for, and they accumulate towards a crystal globe. So we've managed to win the downhill specific one and the Super G, and then also the overall one for all disciplines.
Wow, winning's becoming a bit of a habit. Are you the most decorated Paralympian or most decorated Winter Paralympian?
Winter Paralympian.
Winter Paralympian.
Yeah.
Right, okay. How many medals? What's your medal count now?
We counted up 19 this season, but in Paralympic medals it's 4.
Yeah.
Right,
So
okay.
1 gold, 2 silver, and a bronze.
All right, but you keep winning. It's pretty impressive stuff. Let's go back to the Paralympics. How was that experience in how do you say it? Pyeongchang.
Pyeongchang.
Sorry. Whoops. That's my first mistake. Pyeongchang. What was your experience like there?
It was very interesting. It's the first time I have ever been over to Asia, and it's a completely different culture. So it was a bit unusual from that side for me.
Yeah, the food was really difficult actually as athletes, because the food is amazing, but it's not particularly good. It's quite spicy, and they like soups with fish, which Menna doesn't really like fish. So we really struggled to actually get enough nutritional value out of the food, and we ended up kind of having to westernise the hotel diet to try and make sure we ate enough.
Right. Oh, didn't we take our own chefs over there then, or?
No.
No. Oh, that's a bit strange. Okay, but yeah, the overall experience was it was set up. It was fantastic. It was
definitely.
It was a good thing. Is it true that you go 70 miles an hour down the hill? Is it miles an hour or kilometers an hour?
That's miles an hour.
Yeah.
70 miles an hour?
In downhill, yeah.
In downhill,
That's
yeah.
our fastest one.
Oh my God, that's so fast. So let's talk through your disability. You've got 5% sight in one eye
Yeah.
and blind in the other eye.
Yeah.
And you're going 70 miles an hour.
Yep.
Why?
It's a good question.
That's a very good question. The feeling for me. The adrenaline, the feeling of the wind pushing through your hair, the nerves that you're, oh my God, you're gonna die. Thankfully not. But yeah, and then the slight relief crossing the finish line, and the sheer enjoyment.
I snowboard, I can't ski, but when the speeds get up, I get terrified because snow's hard. Even when it's soft, it's still quite hard, isn't it? We all know what it does. And also it's erratic, say. That's the wrong word. What's the word I'm looking for? You never know what's next on the slope, do you? And how it's
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable. That's exactly the word I'm looking for. It's unpredictable, and I'm doing it with sight. It just must be terrifying, isn't it? Well, obviously not for you, but you know.
I think I have a slight advantage about I can't see how steep the slope is. Just saying.
That's brilliant. So let's go into how did you start then? You were 5 years old, is that right? And your mum and dad took you skiing, and you decided to follow down.
Yeah. So just the usual family ski holiday with my 2 sisters, my mum and dad, over in Morzine and Lovejoy, and absolutely fell in love with everything to do with snow and skiing, and I just went wherever Dad went, even if he didn't know I was right behind him. Down off-piste, over lumps, over jumps, black, red runs, blue runs, anywhere, and I just loved it.
How do you ski though? Because obviously when I ski, I'm using my sight. How are you doing it? By the way, when I've been up a mountain, it goes white out. It's so scary when you can't see what you're actually doing, and the floor just keeps dropping away, doesn't it, from you? You know, Jen, you must have experienced that.
Well, that's when I'm having a horrible time, and Menna's having a great time because she's got a recce in front of her who is experiencing all of these lumps. And Menna's 5% actually, especially in low light. The contrast of my high vis jacket, because I'm an orange blob in front of her.
Yeah.
Against the whiteout and the snow actually means that Menna can probably see better in whiteout conditions than she can in some other conditions.
Oh right, okay.
So I'm the one having a really rubbish time up ahead, and Menna's like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know exactly where that lump is, right? I'll avoid that. Yeah, so it balances out, I think, depending on the conditions.
Yeah, that's it. But it's how do you do it then? How do you what are you? Do your other senses, have they come alive to skiing? Are you listening? Are you feeling what's happening?
Yeah, I suppose they do. I'm listening to Jen's communications, but I'm also listening to the sound of her skis and whether I can hear it being a soft sound, so I know it's softer snow, or ice, it would make a louder sound. But I'm also listening to other people around as well. I can tell if someone's going to come up behind me or by the sound, and yeah, as you said, I can almost feel my way down the slope.
Because snow is obviously different, and the ice and the snow, and you get that crunch, don't you, if it's a fresher snow, and also then it gets icy. So I suppose but it does change as you come down.
Yeah, every turn sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we have a sort of code that we've worked, because we've been working together for quite a while now. We've developed it, and so I'll kind of say, if there's ice coming up, I will say stand on it, rather than icy, which could mean Menna goes defensive and stops skiing well. So we use things like that to just describe the action for what to do when the snow changes, as opposed to just saying turn, 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 which is your basic command.
Okay, so what? I'm trying to get my head. I've watched you a lot do it, but I cannot understand how you're giving instructions. How's it? By the way, it's via a Bluetooth headset.
That's right. On our helmets,
what if that breaks? By the way, does it ever happen?
It does.
It does.
It happens in both runs of the gold-winning slalom run, and it just went off. And you'll see, if you watch it closely, I hit the side of my head because that's where the button is to turn it back on, and thankfully it did go back on.
Oh God!
So, but who knows why it turned off twice? It just, yeah. So it does happen, but we agreed beforehand that if anything happens to the comms, I'll sort it out. Menna's got enough to deal with, and so that's our standard operating procedure, to use a military term. Yeah. And we've also
practiced. Yeah, we've practiced that scenario and to make sure it isn't a massive shock, and that we can just carry on doing the job at hand. And
how? Just by shouting
and following.
We do shout a lot,
yeah. Even with the comms.
So what are the instructions then? What are you doing apart from stand? What did you
stand
say?
on it?
Stand on it. Apart from that, what are you doing?
So things like so turn would be the very basic one for slalom, and I should probably say that actually for each discipline we have a slightly different set of commands. So they're adapted because the turn shape's different.
Right.
So for slalom, I will say turn for a very bog standard turn, but then there might be something more complicated. So we've got 2 gates in a row, which makes like a banana turn, which is a long one. So I'll say turn, but then say hold and elongate my voice to illustrate, like to give Menna a picture of what the turn looks like, just using the sound of my voice and the kind of length of how long I hold it. And then if there are ruts, I'll say drive or forward, so that we press through the snow. And this is, I'm kind of saying these things as if they sound really simple, but we spent hours working out what each one of those words means and the actions that's behind those.
So stand on it won't just be stand on your outside ski, it'll be a
series of
chain
actions.
Series is what I'm looking for. Series of movements that make sure that I am on my outside ski, but in the best way, with my weight being forward, or
driving the knees in so that your edges bite, and which is really important when you're on ice. You've got to get those sharp things on the skis actually gripping, so you don't slide down and miss the next gate.
There's a lot of trust involved in this, isn't there?
Definitely.
How did you get put together, first of all?
It's kind of a complete chance, really. I was guiding somebody else. I've been guiding somebody else on the team for 2 years.
Millie, wasn't it?
Yeah, Millie. And so
Millie Knight, and then you got injured, is that right?
I got injured so about 7 or 8 months after we started working together. Missed Sochi Paralympics, which was like the worst thing in the world at the time. But then came back and we kind of worked together for a year, and then that came to a natural end. And I still wanted to carry on because I loved the sport. Menna had taken a break and was off doing other stuff, and our performance director went, right, wait, I'll go and have a meeting with Menna's family and see what she thinks, and kind of put us together. It's a bit like matchmaking.
But why? How did you get involved in being? What do they call your role? I mean, because you're a team, aren't you? That's how it works. It's a bizarre sport because it's an individual sport, but you actually work as a team.
Yeah.
Without each other, you can't do it. But what do they call your role?
I'm Menna's guide.
So you're called a guide.
Yes.
Okay. How do you become the guide in the first place? Why did you decide to do it, and how did that happen?
There's no set pathway as yet, and I think a lot of it depends because, as you say, it's a really unusual sport and it's very personality dependent, so not everybody will get on, not everybody will be able to work together. I got into it, I was racing for the British Army. I'm still serving in the Army, and so I was at the Inter-Service Championships, and one of the coaches who worked with the Armed Forces Para Snowsport team just came up to me and said, I think, have you ever heard of guiding? I think you'd be good at it. So I got in touch with the team, and they were, Millie had been guided by her mum and needed a faster guide. So we just went on a trial together, and.
Okay, just a quick few lines on you then. How successful were you in the Army as a skier?
I was the top Army racer that year, the following year in the Armed Forces, and the second. I was runner-up in the Armed Forces.
Do you race against other armed forces? Because I've been away somewhere once and I saw a load of Canadians and Australians racing British people. Yes. Is that what happens?
Sometimes, yeah. So it's the three services: Army, Navy, and Air Force at the base. But we also invite we have invited the Canadians and the Australians.
So they race against each other to begin with. The RAF and the
Yes,
Navy and the Army.
It's a whole series. We've got a race series.
Okay, let's get it sorted. Who's better?
The Army.
You're in the Army.
I think we wiped the floor with them this year.
So the funny thing is that all of our guides on the para team at the moment, Jen's in the Army, Gary, who's in the RAF, and Brett, who's in the Navy, who all compete as a bit of rivalry. Inter-service championship.
More so amongst the boys because they are obviously head-to-head, whereas in the women's competition, there's no sort of para-team rivalry in that sense. But
and how do we get on against Australia and Canada? Because I assume Canada are pretty good at skiing.
So I can't remember the last time that Canada came over, but we always do pretty well against the Aussies. They have maybe one or two racers who do well, and actually they're really good at the snowboarding. So they come and do freestyle, and they're pretty good at the snowboarding. I think they put up a good fight.
Can either of you snowboard?
A little bit.
No, but I want to try.
Yeah.
Do you?
Just to add to the challenge.
I can't ski. I can only snowboard, and I absolutely love it. The thing which scares me about skiing is actually the speed. I'm terrified of when my snowboard goes.
You do get through the flats great with poles.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So just continue. You're in the Army now. You must have a lot of time off to practice for the training.
So the Army partnered up with the English Institute of Sport and the TAS scheme, and they run an elite sports program. So there's 11 spaces for elite athletes to be released full time with whichever program, provided you're on the World Cup program. And so the Army released me full time to do this with Menna. and they've been so supportive of everything we're doing.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, we couldn't.
Yeah.
We couldn't have done it.
Definitely not, no.
But can you join the army and just end up skiing?
To a certain extent, I think there are.
That's just the most amazing job ever.
I think I've got the best job in the world.
You get all your kit and all that, and then you've ended up fantastically ending up in the Paralympics, which is winning medals, which is
not what I expected when I joined up.
Really?
No.
That's incredible. Is there any way you can try and get closer to that mic, or you shoved up against the edge, just so we can get you a bit quicker? So what happened when you two first met? Then tell us what actually happened. What did you make of each other, and what sort of stuff do you have to go through?
Well, she nearly skewed me into a wall on the first time.
Millie Knight was
second time.
Millie Knight was glad to get rid of her.
Yeah. No, we hit it off pretty much straight away.
Yeah, definitely. I think our personalities matched up pretty well. We're both talkative.
Well, we bonded over a shared love of Disney songs.
Which ones? Which ones from the Frozen. Well, yeah, that does get sung sometimes.
Yeah,
when we can remember the words. That's normally the key.
Right,
our karaoke song is usually Bare Necessities.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, bit of Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
And then just a bit of trial and error, really, to see what things work, what things don't. Yeah.
Menna, how soon was it before you realised it was going to work?
Oh, it's a very good question. I don't know. I think over time it just started to seem a bit more real and a bit more the way I wanted it to be or needed it to be, and then it just slowly. And then when we got picked for the Paralympic team, I think it's the moment when my dreams started to come true.
Quite a leap of faith, though, for you to have to just go, right, I'm putting all my... Because it's dangerous skiing. You know, there's no two ways about it. You're going fast and it's the ground's hard. You can get injuries. So it's quite a leap of faith just to go, right, I'm going to put my life, my health in Jen's hands.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of responsibility more for her. But as a visually impaired person, you've got to put yourself in those situations pretty much every day. So just say if I want to go to shops and to get a taxi, there you're putting yourself in harm's way. Not harm's way, but in a more risky situation, and then crossing roads when you can't necessarily hear the cars or see them or stuff like that. So I'm putting myself in risky situations every day, and I just think skiing's just one of them.
And how long before you thought it was working, Jen?
I think pretty quickly, and we generally did have a really great week that first week. It's a fridge in North Germany we went to, and it's the most depressing place in the world. The food's awful. The slope is, it is a temperature controlled environment, -5 consistently, no sun, no light, no light. But we just had a great week, lots of fun, despite all the really uninspiring stuff going on around us. And I think I was really excited because I wanted to carry on, and I knew that actually I'd seen Menna ski the season before. I knew that she was a really talented skier, so I was super excited to work with her, and I thought actually because you weren't on the World Cup circuit by this point.
No, not yet.
So I had been and knew that Menna could be there, and that actually there was this really exciting opportunity that we could go all the way and go and make it to the Paralympics together. So, yeah.
Did you have to do any sort of those strange trust game type things?
Yes.
What'd you do? I'd be terrible at that.
Do you remember the ones at the top of Saas-Fee that we did?
Oh, I can't remember.
We were at the top of the glacier in Saas-Fee in Switzerland, doing... And our strength and conditioning team had kind of given us these warm-up activities.
Oh, those ones.
Yeah. So the basic ones, like where you'd cross your arms and just lean back and wait for somebody to catch. Hopefully she catches you.
Yeah.
which you did. So it was all right.
Maybe
yeah.
a bit low to the ground.
Leave it away a bit. But yeah, the ones.
Yeah, so to help with being in sync and working with the shadows, and because I was looking directly into the sun, which is a little bit tricky to see what is around.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to practice, trying to trust Jen and try and trust my feelings and my instincts of where Jen's hand would be. And so we'd stand on one foot and Jen will put her hand up and I've got to try and tap her hand where it is and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so
try and get everything
games like that. It's,
engaged.
Yeah, get in sync.
You must spend a lot of time with each other. How is it? Is you pretty inseparable? Is that? Do you get much free time alone?
Yeah, I think up until this year we were sharing rooms everywhere we went, so it was pretty intense. And I think this year, just because it has been so busy, we've decided that we want a bit of space
From each other.
Yeah, because we're away 7 months of the year, something like that, which is a long time to spend with anybody.
Yeah.
No matter how much you like them.
Do you argue?
Not really.
Not massively.
Sometimes when you get everybody in the team gets a bit tetchy with each other, particularly towards the end of season. But there's nothing.
I love the idea that you might. I like the idea that you might have had a row and go, right, come on, let's go and win a gold medal, and then we'll finish this afterwards.
You do have to do that.
In a minute and a half, I'm going to have a go at you, but now we're going down the hill and.
Pause. We'll remember that in case it happens.
Yeah. Win the medal and then we'll sort it out. How do you know how far in front to go?
Good question. So we aim for as close as possible, which is about 2 to 3 meters. That's ideal. A little bit further for the speed events, so downhill and Super G, just because your skis are 2 meters long, so you don't want to cross skis. Okay, for anyone, just whilst we do this, for anyone who doesn't ski, can you explain all the events that you do, the difference between them all, so they can get Yeah, so from the slowest and turniest is slalom, with really short skis, 1.5 meter length skis. Then giant slalom is a little bit less turny, a little bit faster with 1 meter 88 length skis. And then we've got, so that's the technical events. So it's technically very turny and lots going on. Yeah. Then we have the speed disciplines of Super G and downhill, which downhill in its essence was created, basically you just point your skis down a slope and get down it as fast as possible. Now they put some gates around it, but it's pretty, it's like 50 to 60 meter turn radius, which is huge, and skis of longer than 2 meters, which when you're us and very short is pretty long. Right, okay. So the difference between downhill and Super G? Downhill and Super G is very little. So downhill turns are a little bit wider. Super G is a little bit more technical, slightly tighter turns. Which is your favourite, both of you?
I think Super G is mine.
Yeah, I'd go with Super G. Yeah.
You love the speed, don't you? Yeah. That's the bit which terrifies me. I don't know how you can do it. Have a go. No. The ground's too hard. That's better for going fast. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was interrupting you explaining something a minute ago. Oh, I've just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Speed. No, it's gone. Don't worry about it. It'll come back. We were discussing, because I got you to describe the different disciplines. Oh, the distance that we ski together. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So we, you kind of, actually since working with Menna, I think my senses have expanded and how I use my senses. We did this amazing project with Toyota last year, which was they kind of used they created an Instagram called See Like Menna, which shows exactly what Menna see, or is close representation of what Menna sees. And through doing that, we did some binaural sound work, so it really heightened my awareness of what you were hearing and how Menna uses her ears. And so I started to listen much more to what was around me. And so I can hear where Menna is now, and know if she's right in behind me or if she's further away. I can just sense it. Something,
you pick up. But I also, in case you get distracted, I also use shoulder checks. So because we want to keep in this little, we want to ski together as a unit, as close together as possible. About within 2 to 5 meters is the ideal. And then I just have to adjust.
For my confidence, the closer I am to Jen, the better I ski and the better we ski as a team. But also for aerodynamics. And I think we worked out it was 7 meters.
We did a wind tunnel project.
Yeah. Where I was bolted in skis to the floor and the wind comes on. Jen's there stepping forward to see what.
How's it done then? It's all done on Menna finishing. Is that how it all works?
Yeah.
So it's all on your time. And can you sense if each other is not, I hate to say this, but not performing as well as they normally do, or the mood's not quite right, or the confidence has shifted? Can you sense it in each other?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Jen knows exactly what I'm like. I can get into a different position if I'm nervous, especially in speed races. She calls it my gorilla pose.
It's revenge for the orange blood comment.
And so, so Jen's there, and then she knows that she has to say, come on, like, push me on a bit more.
I said a little bit about the difference in commands that we use when we're racing, and tech, it's actually, Menna, sometimes your confidence isn't 100% in tech, but it's more likely to be dipped in speed, because
say that again, in tech.
So in the technical races,
right? Okay.
Menna's actually really confident, so I just have to give instructions as to what's coming up.
Right.
Whereas in the speed, my role becomes much more of a coaching, mentoring, kind of geeing up, I suppose. Sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
It depends on the condition of the snow, the course, so many things that. So you kind of you have to work together and judge how each other's feeling.
Yeah, and we were quite smart about tactics for each race and how we're going to go out and perform. And sometimes it's, do you know what, let's just survive this, let's get down in one piece. And then the other days it's, let's go for it and let's do it.
Do you do other training as well together, the fitness training and things like that?
We do some, yeah. It's pretty tricky because I'm down in Greater Manchester when I'm at home, and Jen's in Reading.
How are the mountains in Greater Manchester? You must have to. Where do you train? Do you have to keep going off to the Alps all the time, and do you have to go down to? Do you have to? Where else do you go to train? I mean, do you just train in the winter, or do you go off to Southern Hemisphere and stuff?
Last summer we went to Chile for a month.
Oh wow, what's it like skiing there?
Amazing.
Why?
It's skiing down the shoulder of a volcano.
We were down in Paralympic. Yeah, so cool. And the snow, because you're on a volcano and the ground's warmer than most mountains, actually the snow compacts really well, so it's perfect for ski racing.
Oh, amazing.
But it never goes icy.
No,
or anything.
it's just
it's
really good.
So you're training all year round then? Are you having
pretty much,
yeah.
So you're following the snow like people follow the sun?
Yes.
Oh.
What's the summer holiday?
Hey, winter holidays are the best though, are they?
I think so.
So do I. So Menna, Greater Manchester is where you come from then, is that right? Or
yes.
That's where you grow. So then how much time are you spending in the Alps? I assume that's where you were going, somewhere like that, France or somewhere. How much time were you spending before you decided to take it seriously?
So I was probably only doing about 2 or 3 week trips. Because before Jen, I was guided by my dad.
Right.
Until I got told, or he got told by a Welsh coach, that we need to find a faster guide. So we did.
Who was the Welsh coach then? How did someone find you?
So it was a coach called Robin Kellan.
Yeah.
So I'm half Welsh on my mum's side. So I went away with them after I took a bit of a break, and I found my love again of skiing, because I kind of lost that at the beginning of summer. So refound that, and he basically just said, we need to find a faster guide for you.
Yeah, but where had somebody put you on the program? Had someone discovered you somewhere and put you on the program?
So when I was beginning to start in racing when I was 13, I went to a talent spotting day at the Chill Factor indoor slope in Manchester.
Right.
And then since then they said, oh, come along to a camp, and with that was the charity called Disability Snow Sports UK.
Right.
At the time.
So you'd started skiing with your parents, and then you thought, I fancy racing as well.
Yeah.
Jesus, really? Wow. And that's so your dad was guiding you down as you were racing, and then you basically got discovered that way. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. And it's really, I mean, do you ever feel, Jen, that you might be letting her down? Is that an issue for you as you're a guide?
I think so. There have been times, you were asked about, do you know what the mood is? And
Yeah.
sometimes if either one of us isn't performing, if we have a bad day, everybody has a bad day. So
because you've still got to ski at a pretty, I mean, you're rapidly going down the hill, aren't you? It's pretty rapid what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're pushing yourself.
I think in
ski.
slalom, yes. Slalom, I have to. So to give you the context, in slalom, I have to ski a longer line than Menna, which is really hard work. So that's my least favourite discipline.
Why do you have to do that?
Because with slalom, you've got a series of single poles that. Menna has protection on her shins and on hand guards, and she smashes through the gates to push them out of the way. If I smash through the gates, they will rebound and smash Menna in the face, and we'll fall out.
Okay.
So I have to ski round them so that the gates don't smash in her face. But that means I'm travelling further, and therefore having to work not harder, but certainly it feels like I'm working very hard. So yes, I do have bad days, and I think I do feel when you work in a team, you always feel a sense of responsibility.
Yes.
And if you don't perform as well as you can, you feel like you're letting the other one down. I think. Like, we both have days like that.
And I think it's very tricky for the guide, because say if I fall or lose a ski or something like that, Jen would probably think it's your fault, wouldn't you?
I feel responsible because I think, sometimes not.
Sometimes.
Sometimes these things happen. We had Menna's ski popped off in a race, and it was nothing. We couldn't have done anything. It could have happened to me. It could have been, it was complete bad luck. But there are times. Yeah, there are times where you do feel really responsible.
Do you also feel responsible with each other, as in, especially Jenny, you looking and going to, look, let's work out what you're eating, or make sure you're fit enough, and all those sort of things. Is there responsibility there to encourage each other? And because it must be times where you just think, I can't be bothered with this.
I think,
I think so. I think both of us do that a little bit. If one of us is in a negative or a negative lull and you just need a little help out, I think both of us will do that.
Yeah.
Who's more nervous on the start line?
I don't know. It depends.
Who's more confident on the start
You're
line?
asking who shows it. It's all the question.
So I think probably more so when we started. It's not so difficult or so important now, but when we first started skiing together, I made a real effort never to show my nerves, because I didn't want to make Menna any more nervous than she probably already was at the thought of skiing down.
Yeah.
It's such small margins, isn't it? Such small margins, whether you win or not. I mean, what is it, hundredths of a second, tenths of a second?
Can be hundreds. Yeah, the difference. I mean, the difference between us winning gold and silver was 0.66 of a second, which is, that's a breath at the wrong time. It could be. But I think, so that's, like, we work really hard to just do the best in every area that we can, and then whatever happens on the day happens.
And how's the rivalry going with the other skiers? How does that work? Are you all pretty good friends off off the piste, or are you?
Yeah, we pretty are actually. Yeah, we get on really well with the Australians, Austrians, the GB girls, and yeah, we get on really well with everyone. But
You've got quite a rivalry with Kelly Gallagher, haven't you? I mean, she's up there competing
really
against
well
you, and you. I mean, you're so tight with each other sometimes, aren't you? As in the times, it's that's pressure.
I think GB has got a real advantage because we've got 3 really talented World Cup skiers, and actually in training you can actually benchmark off each other, and it pushes the sport on. So. Yeah, the good thing is the rivalry is just on race day you're competitors, but when you're off the snow, it's not.
But
like
even on those race days, you're still saying good luck to each other in the start gate.
Yeah. Are we pumping as much money into this as we do with the summer Paralympics? Because I know there's a definite difference between the summer Olympics and the winter Olympics, isn't there? Is it similar with the Paralympics? Do you know?
I don't.
Am I asking a political question which you don't know the answer to?
What I can say that we have won off the back of the Sochi and the Pyeongchang Paras. We've got a huge uplift in funding. So
that's good.
I think winter sport. There are so many more athletes in the summer Paralympics and Olympics than in winter. That actually the funding doesn't need to be as much. So I think actually we are one of the best funded, certainly in the para snow sport community, best funded teams, actually possibly bar the Americans and maybe the Austrians in the world. Don't quote me on that, but we are certainly up there amongst.
Makes you proud, doesn't it?
It does.
It really does.
And the results show. The investment has come, and the results have come also,
especially coming from not a very typical snow sports country, to be up there with the Austrians and France and all the other ones is amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. But that's because of people like you who show no fear going down, and that's what it needs. I mean, it's quite a strange thing to do. I was speaking to Johnny Peacock actually recently. He was on my TV show, and we were talking about controversy because on the 100 meters they're always talking about the length of blades and the different disability and stuff. He said there's always controversy about the categories, but also he says it's actually quite good for the sport because it gives a bit of spice to it. Or is it similar in the Winter Olympics?
Yes, in the visually impaired. It's probably the visually impaired classification is probably one of the better ones because they're doing a lot of research into it. There's always a lot of controversy around the men's stand-up about how accurately the classification system is, and
you just
it's tough. It's tough, isn't it? It's really tough, but it's
so subjective as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to accept, I suppose, that you're not necessarily going to get it right every single time, but you have to know that the system is the best system there. And if you trust the system, then that's the important thing. If you don't trust the system, then that's another issue. And
yeah. But I think it's a tough thing for people to get right, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they've got to make as many of the competitors as comfortable as possible. I suppose that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and I think there's been some debate about should we allow more people in, and I think you kind of have to. So, for example, increasing the visually impaired categories to have a B4, which is so for people who are less visually impaired. But actually,
so explain the category then. How do they work?
You got B1 currently. B1 to B3. B1 is completely blind, no vision at all.
Blacked out goggles they have to wear to make it fair.
Yeah. B2 is Menna's classification, which is less than 5% vision, and then B3 is less than 10%, which is Kelly Gallagher's classification.
Right.
So there's been some debate to increase it to a B4, which you could do in the visually impaired. But then where do you stop? And I think when you start getting into the, particularly the men's stand-up, where you could just go on, increasing the categories, and then you dilute the fields, and then where's your competition if you've just got 2 people competing in each classification because you've increased the range?
Yeah.
I mean, there are 2 sides to it. You can debate it at length, but I think you have to kind of keep the competition and keep the fields a little bit narrow.
What's next? 2022 or before? Have you got stuff before? Well, you obviously must have stuff before that. haven't you?
That is our end goal. We have a championships 2 years.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, 2021.
Next World Championships.
Where's that?
It could possibly be in Ore, is it?
Yeah, Ore
Ore.
in Sweden, where they've just had the able-bodied World Championships.
Right.
They're looking to host. So
You get to travel a lot, don't you?
yeah.
Yes.
Where's the best snow in the world? Have you done down in Japan?
No,
Not yet.
on the list.
Because I hear that snow down there's different. I don't know why it would be different, but do you find that the snow different all around?
There are so many types of snow.
Yeah.
So many types
Oh,
of
go
snow.
on, explain that because we don't get to
I don't think we've got
experience that.
time, but we need our coach,
We
John
need to
Clark,
get a
here.
But
we
you-
need to get a figure of how many different types of snow there is.
But do you mean different types as in different types around the world or different types in one resort? So you can have different...
Both.
Right.
Especially now that so many resorts are reliant on manufactured snow. That
Yes.
changes the snow completely. So you could have different snow types at the top of the run to the bottom of the run, left side, right side, depending on, if you've got shadow down one side of the run and bright sunlight, because it will just have melted it in a slightly different way. So it could be really firm and icy on one side and then soft and
Sugary
on the other. It's
I was in Norway and it was it's a great place. Have you skied in Norway?
We
Yes.
have, yeah.
I
Although
love...
every time we went, rained.
Oh no. I went there and I really enjoyed it, but it was just so cold. I mean, the temperatures just they're ridiculously cold, especially on the ski lifts and stuff. But they had so much snow, and then they were putting artificial snow on top of the snow, and it's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so you're coming through the artificial snow, and then that sort of into normal snow. Your board changes as you move, which is obviously similar to obviously exactly the same as skiing. It's kind of weird. Where's your favourite place to ski?
Favorite place to ski, I would probably say Coralco, Chile. Is my
my
favorite.
I think mine's probably Colorado, Winter Park. We had an amazing training camp and World Cup finals in Aspen, which is a cool place to ski. So yeah, I want to go back there.
So go on. I interrupted you. You were just telling me about the Olympics. That's the key. That's what you're aiming for next. Or that's the big thing you're aiming for.
Yeah, and then I think next year, Jen has to go back to major school.
I promoted this year. So.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh,
I did.
congratulations!
Thank you.
Promoted to a.
So from a captain to a major.
Oh, amazing!
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Oh, that's
but I have
brilliant.
to go back and study for 6 months, which will be
Oh
different.
no! So what happens here then with the dynamic? So this is when do you do this? Studying.
September.
So what happens to the training?
Well, we're not 100% sure yet.
Yeah, TBC. But we have plans afoot, and we'll be back for the World Cup finals in.
So you're
Sweden.
definitely staying together.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not like Wham. You're not splitting up, are you? Like,
No, there's,
of all the duos, why did I think of Wham? For God's sake? It's like 20 years ago. That's ridiculous.
I was going to say who's one.
Well, yeah, you should do. I don't know. I'll ask someone else. So the 2000. When is it? 2022, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beijing. Have I got that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, phew, Beijing. So back out there. Have you in Asia? Have you skied in Beijing before?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet. That's going to be brilliant.
I don't think the mountain's built yet.
No,
Oh,
they're
are they building a
the
mountain?
They've got to build it up because there's nowhere high
Long enough.
or dig down. I'm not sure, but it's a construction site anyway.
So does that mean you're going to be on artificial snow? Everything's on artificial snow.
Yeah.
Almost certainly.
Yeah, same as Korea really, because the two places get about an average of 10 centimeters of snow a year.
So everything you snowed on was artificial there?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nuts, isn't it? Is that wrong? Are you all right with that?
It does feel a bit bizarre, but for for us being Brits, we've skied indoors and we're
Right.
used to the artificial snow. So it's
And it
a
does
lot
make a
easier
good
for
race
us
surface.
to adapt.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
What was it? Whistler, wasn't it? A few years ago, they just didn't get any snow, even though they're supposed to have snow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Winter
Last
Olympics
year.
in Whistler.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
A while
the East
ago.
Coast.
Yeah. I went all the
It's
way to
one of the-
Whistler and there was no snow. Oh, so
It's so
frustrating.
depressing.
It is, yeah. It is.
No,
It's-
we actually last season we had the problem of too much snow,
Mm.
which doesn't sound like much of a problem, but when you're racing, if we had something like a metre, in team they had 3 metres over the whole season, which was almost unheard of, and we had speed races, which you need the snow surface to be hard because you are travelling fast, so you don't want any soft ruts that could trip you up. And they couldn't run the races. There was just too much snow, so we had 4 or 5 races cancelled because
yeah.
far too much snow.
I mean, we had half the cancelled the year before, didn't we?
Yeah.
Sadly, I'd come home just before that massive amount of snow and I had no snow.
Oh. That is sad.
But I got whiplash this year because I went from artificial snow, because this is the problem, isn't it? Artificial snow they'd put down into sheer ice, and it's such a bizarre scenario because your board just changes immediately, and it just skidded away from me. I was what's that expression you said about stand on?
Stand on it.
I wasn't standing on it enough.
You're on your edges. You have
so
to remember
the
that.
edge went, and I ended up getting injured, which is sad. Do you get a chance, Jen, to go down the mountain first to trial it out? Do you have a chance to go down?
Yeah. So in a race, we would inspect together.
Yeah.
And it's like you very slowly. Menna talks a little bit about feeling, and so actually being able to feel the sensation under the snow is really quite important. So we'll go around each gate and create a visual picture of the course in our heads together, and then we'll overlay all the commands and the light and all of that. So we can run through a race rehearsal together in our heads before we even race the course, and we'll do that probably 3 or 4 times before a race. It's like your dress rehearsal, really.
Excellent. I've got some questions I ask everybody, so I'm going to go through those. Have you been given them, so you know roughly what I'm going to ask
Yes.
you? Cool. By the way, what do you have to study to be a major?
I'll let you know at the end of next year. Yeah, so it's a bit. The first part is like management and leadership studies, tools, a bit like I think the beginning of an MBA. So, and then the second part is military strategy and leadership. Yeah, I'll let you know afterwards.
What made you want to go into the army in the first place?
The challenge. My grandfather was in the Royal Engineers,
Right.
and yeah.
So you're both very similar. That you like the challenge, you like the thrill. That you've got that personality, haven't you, Trey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both very
And,
competitive and very determined.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
How do you feel when you don't get the gold?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Probably slightly disappointed because we know that we can go and get that and can do it, but yeah.
It depends how well we've skied.
Yeah.
If we've given our all and done the very best we can, and well, that was one of the things
And
we
it
talked
happens
about.
to be second.
Yeah, we talked about before the games and kind of said, right, how are we going to deal with not winning? And we said, well, if we've delivered everything we possibly can, then that's all we can do. So yeah, if we haven't, then
yeah, but I can just see you're both absolutely determined, aren't you? It's really funny. You love it. It's, yeah.
Definitely.
It's great. I think what you two have found is amazing, because most people, you've got a purpose in your lives, which is fantastic. And we talk about this a lot on this podcast, finding a purpose. You two, you'd like, your eyes are glistening as you're discussing this. You clearly love it, what you do, and but there must be a lot of hard work you put into it. But I mean,
Definitely, yeah.
the rewards seem to be fantastic for you.
It's loads of fun, and I think having someone to share that with.
Yeah.
Like having fun has been at the centre of what we do, and I think it makes
Yeah.
it so much better when you can share it with somebody who loves it as well.
As I say, it's so surreal because it's an individual sport, but you're doing it as a team. So it's just it's kind of crazy the way it works. Brilliant though.
I think it's awesome.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you both. What one piece of advice would you like to give our listeners that has been invaluable to your life? Menna, let's start with you.
There's nothing that stops you from getting your dreams.
Brilliant. Great piece of advice. Jen?
Mine's kind of similar actually. Like, never give up. My mum always told me, if you get told no, unless there is a really strong reason why you shouldn't do something, keep trying, because if you want it enough, if you believe it, you can do it. You can do it.
I can't imagine anyone telling either of you no. I don't really accept
They have.
that. What's the biggest mistake you've made? Is there any mistakes you two have made, Menna?
Ooh. I don't know, because everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So even though I was thinking of taking the break that I did have from skiing, but if I didn't take that, I probably wouldn't have met Jen.
Yeah, that's true.
So things happen for a reason, and even if a mistake is there, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Is that the same with you? Have you got a mistake?
Mine is it's similar but a different thing. I used to sail as a kid. I was on the
Did you?
I did.
Wow.
I was in the GB development squad for sailing.
Amazing.
I gave up, and kind of I would agree with Menna's answer that you like if I had carried on sailing and it ended up going down that route, then I probably wouldn't be here. But
Yeah.
I always think it was a real shame that I didn't carry on.
Why did you give up?
Because I discovered boys and alcohol.
I always think though that those people who spend the whole of their time on boats and yachts must just always think the floor's moving, because you spend the whole of your life like moving around. Yeah, everything's
Land sickness is a thing. It's so bad.
getting on land and going, why isn't it moving? Why is it? Menna, do you do any other sports?
Not massively. I've tried a lot of sports. I used to play badminton, which is interesting as a visually impaired person.
Wow, how'd you do that?
I hear most of it, so
She's a ninja at ping pong. Do not challenge Menna to ping pong.
Really? Wow.
Killer serve.
Oh, cool. All right, next question. Any life hacks? You travel a lot. They could be travel or they could be anything. But Menna, have you got any? I just wonder if you've got one for travel, because you travel a lot.
Always take your own pillow and a kettle.
I don't use kettles. I've got my cooker hot tap, which is... What is a kettle? I don't know. Sponsors the podcast. Thank you, cooker. A kettle. All right, always take a kettle. Yeah, I suppose that's important because you get to a hotel. But your own pillow, why does that help you? Obviously helps you with your sleep.
Yeah, and it's also a bit of home that you can take away with you.
Right.
So it has kind of like a dual purpose.
Do you ever get homesick?
Yeah, after a long season, yeah, definitely. Like FaceTime's great, but sleeping in your own bed and being able to, go down, make yourself a cup of tea.
I do think people forget this with athletes, that you spend a lot of time away from home, and there's something beautiful about being at home every day and waking up in your house.
Yeah, definitely.
Making your own food, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Food is really important to me.
Yeah.
Really
And
is.
when we've had a couple of hotels this winter that the food has been really bad.
That's when you get most homesick.
Yeah. So being able to actually cook your own dinner and choose what you want, not have, even if it's a really lovely buffet, it's still not necessarily the food that you would choose.
Yeah. Just basics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just like anything basic.
Crumpets.
Crumpets.
Some of our team managers came out this winter and brought us tea bags and crumpets. It was the best care parcel ever.
And you don't like fish, man?
Not massively, no. But I'll eat it. I'll try it.
You'll have to. Any life hacks, Jim?
So always when we're traveling, I always carry a laundry bag, so you can shove your laundry in, that zips up, so that when you've got to do your washing, it just shoves it in, because we're often in hotels and stuff, and you don't want somebody rooting through your smalls. But also you can get little ones, little zip bags for all of your individual underwear, socks in one, pants in another. And it just means when you're moving, because we move hotels every 2 to 3 days, you can always find it.
God, it's so
brilliant.
Although,
go on.
I told my mum this, and she went on holiday and left them in the first hotel.
Do you spend your life in tracksuits?
No, I think we're both in jeans usually.
Yeah, skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
That's how you...
So you don't have to. I once did some work with the England team, and they were in South Africa. That was it, the South African World Cup, and it was Fabio Capello. I shouldn't really be telling this story, but I will. And he kept them all locked up, and I was in there, and I interviewed a few of the players, and I just remember the players going, just so sick of wearing a tracksuit. You know, we all love tracksuits, they're comfortable. And one of them was, I'm not going to say who, because the press always pick up on this sort of stuff. And he just said, I just want to wear a pair of jeans. And you know what else I want to do? I just want to get in a car and just if all I have to do is drive up and down the road, I just want to do something else apart from sit in my hotel room. I'm so bored. You must have that sometimes, stir crazy by just sitting in hotel rooms, do you?
Sometimes, but we always try and make the days off count, whether that is going to another village down the road, or just go and talk to other people, or
we visited Perpignan on our way past Andorra and stuff like that, so we'll try and find something cultural to do and learn a bit about the area, because otherwise you do just spend your time on one ski slope in a resort training or racing.
Do you have a party?
Not really.
Not massively, no. I don't drink at all.
At the end of the Paralympics, is there a bit of a do for all the
There is,
athletes?
Yeah. We did party a bit after that.
Yeah, we did.
the Aussies had a party that we went and hung out with them till about 2 a.m,
and we were leaving at like 3 a.m, so there's no point going to bed then. So.
Definitely. Right, final couple of questions. Can you recommend a book? Is that one of the things you do when you travel? Menna, do you read at all, Braille or anything?
No, I don't really read much.
Do you do audiobooks?
I do audiobooks every single night, really, or any time I listen to Harry Potter.
Oh, do you?
I do, yeah.
Do you do podcasts at all?
Not much, but I'm slowly getting into it.
Yeah, there's a really good one called Dear Lovejoy.
I listened to one on the train.
Okay. So obviously the audio stuff must be invaluable to you now, the audiobooks and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when Stephen Fry's narrating it.
Ah, is that... Yeah, okay. Okay. Can you see your phone?
Yes, I can.
So it's
large print.
Okay, so you're able to text, WhatsApp, Facebook, social media.
All the usual teenagery things.
Right, cool. Can you recommend a book, Jen?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of reading Best Foot Forward by Adam Hills.
Right.
Last Leg.
Last Leg,
really
yeah.
Good.
Is it his life story?
It is, yeah.
Is it?
So it's great.
Interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
I've interviewed him a
brilliant.
few times. And Last Leg's such a great show.
Oh,
yes,
definitely.
really,
Yeah.
It's been amazing, hasn't it? It's been such a revelation to have a show like that.
Really refreshing, and
it's one of my favourite shows. Actually.
It's nice that they don't shy away from dealing with some really big issues as well, quite head on.
Yeah, that's it, and it's nice. I thought they did it so well. What Olympics did that start at? I can't remember.
London
now.
2012.
Was it 2012? Yeah. And using Public Enemy as just the and the whole superheroes thing. It was just great. It was such a great campaign.
Yeah.
Do you think London 2012 changed for people's perceptions of Paralympics?
I think it definitely helped. It showed people that we're just the same as any other athlete. We work just as hard, but we've overcome something before we get to the start line.
We also did it really well, didn't we?
Yes.
It made me really proud. Because usually, I might be saying the wrong thing here, but the Olympics finishes and then everyone switches off. We all everyone in the world seemed to carry on watching because the Paralympics was so good.
Yeah.
And it seems to have carried on now.
Definitely. The audience figures have definitely grown, both in summer and winter sport, Paralympic sport.
Yeah, and Channel 4 have been really good at helping that, because if you don't have a broadcaster to support it, then you don't get it out there. And I know some of the nations who aren't supported by the regional broadcaster don't get it out there, but we always, have, and that I think is really important.
Yeah. And the Paralympians have become household names as well, which is, I think, the amazing thing. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, final question then. It's just the small matter of what's the meaning of life?
How many times do you get given the answer 42?
No, a couple probably. A couple probably, but you're not giving me the answer. I refuse to accept that one.
It was the question. Got to ask. I'll also have to explain to Menna probably the reference.
I don't know what that means. So for me, the meaning of life is to enjoy it and leave the next generation something to be inspired by, and to live in a beautiful, wonderful place.
Well, you're certainly doing that for the next generation. The idea that you started at 5 is phenomenal. Jen?
I'm not sure how I can follow that.
Good luck.
For me, the meaning of life is to look out for everybody, like to look out for my friends and family, and just to try and leave whatever I'm doing better than when I found it. So have a positive influence on the world.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for doing the podcast, both of you. I thoroughly enjoyed your company. If people want to follow you, you've got a joint Twitter and Instagram, isn't it?
Yes.
What are they both called?
So it's at Menna and Jen.
For both of them?
For both of them.
And do you have individual ones as well, or do you just work off that one?
At Jennifer Flersky is my Instagram one.
So is that all about the army? Military stuff?
Mostly about my dog.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff about my dog.
How do you have a dog?
The dog even has an Instagram.
Hold on, where does the dog live?
The dog...
the dog's actually in the car.
He's actually in the car.
Oh, you should have brought him in. What sort of dog is it?
He's a Springer Spaniel.
Okay.
Wouldn't have been good with the wires.
Okay. Just running around everywhere.
He's very excitable.
Really?
No, we've got... so my other half has him sometimes, and then I've got a really good network of friends and family.
He's actually come away with us skiing before.
Oh, is he?
So he loves the snow. Yeah.
What does your other half do?
He's in the army as well. Also
Is
a
he?
skier. Yes.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
So is he usually where you're at then, or not? No.
No, not usually. Sometimes not, but yeah,
very rarely.
Yeah. He busted his knee this year, so he's been watching us very jealously from the sidelines.
It's tough being the partner of an athlete, I imagine, if you're competing and all these things, because the amount of time you spend training, and also the highs and lows of the emotional highs and lows.
Yeah, he's been really supportive, and very lucky.
To both of us, actually, he's been pretty good.
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And best of luck in everything you've got coming up, especially Beijing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.